Well, hello, good morning, good evening, good night, good whatever time it is in your atmosphere. I am Dr. Coylette James, and I have the awesome privilege of inviting you and welcoming you into the Unstoppable Lionesses show. I am always excited to get a chance to come and to spend some time with you, but it adds a little caveat of a sprinkle and a little extra sometimes when I get to do the show with my sister, Dr. Stephanie Shine. Hey, sis.
Hello there. This is
How are
awesome. I'm
you?
excited.
I know it's been too long since you've been
I
on here with
I
us.
know, but you know what? It's always on time.
It is.
It's like we it's always like, okay, it's about that time.
Yep. Yep. And we were feeling each other. It was just like,
Yes,
hey, sis, give me a
yes,
call. You were like,
yes.
I was thinking about you.
I
So I
know
was
this
like,
is so awesome. So I'm excited about tonight, and I like when we flow because
mhm,
we allow it's so authentic,
it is.
and we allow God to just show up and be who He is. And so this is going to be a
Yeah.
great time.
It is. It is. Well, we got a great subject tonight, especially in the climate of the world. This is how I've been approaching things lately. It's the climate of the whole world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Linus Warrior Kingdom is now a global entity. And so we have to understand what our Linuses are going through in so many different places. We sometimes we get bogged down in the minutia of what we're going through on a daily basis and we forget about our sisters. So the topic tonight is something that's not predicated just to a single entity, but to a global entity. And that is the intentionality of your choices. The intentionality of your choices. Sis, when I say intentionality, what comes to mind for you?
A purpose, on
Mm,
purpose,
mm, mm,
something that is done with thought. It's outside of your normal muscle memory routine of just
mhm,
or knee jerk reaction.
mhm.
It is what you have thought about, what you've planned, what you have decided to do and planned it out even before you did it. Intentional is not spur of the moment. It's
Mhm.
not it is something that you have set with for a minute, and it's almost like premeditated.
Now that is a perfect description. That is a perfect description. You have taken the time to seek counsel, even if it's just the counsel of the Holy Spirit within
That's
you. Okay.
that's right.
But to
That's
seek
right.
counsel and wisdom on your choice. I think so often we don't realize that it's every little choice that adds up to the big situations.
That's right. That's
You know?
right. And it is. And we have to be intentional in everything that we do because we may not get the season, the window, the opportunity ever again.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
whatever the thing is, whatever the space is, whatever we're going for in that moment, we have to be intentional as if this is it. This is the moment. This is our
Mm-hmm.
time. And we may not ever be able to recapture it again.
Right, right. I believe intentionality also requires us to reflect on things,
Hmm.
especially in our decisions. If we just let our emotions rule us, and we are ladies, and we're emotional beings, but if we take the moment to just kind of trace back some things that we've already walked through, some situations and circumstances that we may have been in before, and possibly we made a decision on the spur of the moment and we weren't intentional. And
Hmm.
the outcome of that wasn't
Hmm.
what we were expecting,
Hmm.
and I think that that will cause us to stop and to ponder just a little bit more like, okay, well, wait a minute, let me come, let us reason together, let me reason with me.
Right, right. Because also, when I think of intentionality, I think of clarity
Mhm, mhm,
and direction.
mhm. Yeah.
It's like you have a clear sense of where you're going and what you're doing. It has intentionality. Like it's lucid, it's clear. And because to me that's the only way you can be intentional, because you it's like I did that on purpose. I
Mm-hmm.
did that on purpose. I thought
Mm-hmm.
about it, I planned it, I saw it before I did it, and I executed intentionally. Now, does that always mean when we operate and execute intentionally that we're going to get the outcome that we're expecting?
Not always.
Not always. We could, how people say you have the best of intentions. you know,
That's a good one. That's a good one. And they went
listen,
awry.
it
I
went
had the best
it,
intention when
I
I
had
did
the
that.
best. That's right. I had the best intentions. I did think
To
about it.
work.
I did, plan for that. Does that sound? Is that sound interfering? I have a fan on in here. Can
Oh,
you
no,
hear
no,
it?
you're good. I was hearing the
Okay.
ding of my computer. It gives me all of these notifications. My bad.
Okay. All right. And so even when you plan it out, it doesn't mean that it's still going to be, because you still cannot be. It's a whole other lot of things that is going on,
Mhm.
but the chances of you getting closer to your mark, even if you don't hit it,
Mhm.
is always greater with intentionality than without.
That's the truth. That is the truth. I say this, excuse me, I say this all the time, but God is such a strategic God.
My God,
He is such a strategic God that in his strategy, he created you for such a time as this.
that's right. That's right.
In his strategy, you're here because he said you would be here for such a time of this and as this. And when you start to think about that, if we're not trying to make sure we're aligning with his purpose for our lives, you know, in our intentionality, then we really will get caught up in all the distraction and the chaos and the madness that is going on around us. There's always going to be noise. There's always going to be noise, you know, but it's how you intentionally block out that noise so you can clearly hear.
It's funny, and in talking, I'm reminded that my grandmother used to tell me this when I was a teenager, and driving and hanging out and going places, and she said, "Always have a place that you're going." And she was being literal, right? She was like, things usually happen when you're just out here aimlessly. Just, if B, I'm on my way to A. Not, what you doing? I don't know. I'm just
I'm
gonna
just
see.
hanging out. Mm.
And she said usually that's when things happen. And so basically she was telling me about be intentional every time you get in that car and every time you're
Hmm.
doing something. Be intentional about where you're going, because it will reduce
Mm.
the chance for outside interference.
That is profound wisdom. That really is. And when you said it, I immediately went back to just hanging out, like what you doing? Just hanging out.
Just
No
no
purpose,
plan, no purpose, not and
nothing.
yeah. And she told me that's never good. Always, I'm going here to do this. I'm going. Everything needs to be. And now, since we're talking about it, it just came back to my remembrance. It's like, you know, being here. It is. Thank you, Holy Spirit. Being intentional. It really, really helps us make better choices.
It does. It definitely does. Because you're going to reason. You're going to reason out why. Okay,
Hmm.
so what is my end goal? Like what your grandmother said, where are you going? What is my end goal? So if I've got my vision ahead of me, I know where I'm trying to get to, then I back up and I intentionally take the steps, turn the streets, do what I need to do to get to that place.
And being intentional helps you not get caught up in the emotional drivers, the things that drive you emotionally, external voices and noise and pressure. That's how you it that's how you get all of that out when you're intentional
Mhm.
about what you're doing. It does not leave any room for the enemy. It's like, I know what I want. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm called to do. I know what I'm supposed to be doing. There is no confusion here.
You remember the saying that idle mind is the devil's workshop?
Come on now. Come on.
Because if you're not intentional, you're idle. You don't have I did this on one of my lives this week. I was like, y'all, I need to get some structure because my lives are getting later and later in the day, and sometimes I don't make it. And it's like, well, I'm not in the day-to-day process of the job. So why is it that I'm not up and getting this stuff done? Now, I am busier than I was when I was doing the job. I really am, but it's a good busy because it's a busy toward what I believe God is calling me to.
Right,
But
that's right.
I still have to be intentional even in the busy. And I was like, I got to get some structure.
Yeah, so guess what? Which leads me to the next thing I was gonna say. Look at we rolling, because guess what I was gonna say?
Hmm.
Being intentional helps you with time management.
We are flowing.
It makes you be more deliberate about what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Intentions is an amazing thing to drive you.
Yeah.
It keeps you on course. It keeps you on task. It keeps you on purpose. It keeps you on vision. It is the thing that makes us, it's the thing that reminds us and keeps us in a place that says there is a reason for all of this.
Exactly. Exactly. And flow in that reason. I'm going to stop these dings. There's a reason for it, and you flow in that. Now, let me ask you this because a lot of times fear prohibits us from going forth in the things that we need to intentionally set our sights on. How do you push past the fear of the unknown, even though you're intentional, but there are places where God will lead us and into situations and circumstances that we've never walked in before. And so that fear makes us leery of making the decision to do what we need to do. How do you
So,
handle that?
well, I'm glad you asked, him that I am a coach and I help many, many people with this. Because
Gee, I think I
what
knew
we,
that.
yes, and what we have to do is now we have to go back and unpack some stuff,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Because it's one thing to know what you're supposed to be doing, where you're supposed to be knowing. Most people know.
mhm,
But the difference between knowing and doing, the intentionality that drives that doing, is that space of where doubt and fear lives, which means that you're going to have to go back and unpack some things that is causing you to be stagnant, to be complacent, to be fearful. You have to go back and now unpack it,
mhm.
because there is something that has happened in your past. There is something that has caused you to, a lot of people get to a certain point and they don't have that intentionality driving them anymore. That now fear has taken over the driver's seat,
Mm,
and it just could be fear of so many things. Some people are afraid of rejection, the
mhm,
rejection that comes with, oh, I got this plan and I'm intentional, but what if? And so some people are very paralyzed by the what ifs and the thing. And so you almost have to go back and start unpacking these things, because I had a client this week began to tell me that she realized a lot of her decisions came out of the things that she saw her parents do.
mm,
And a lot of stuff was, and she operated in that until she figured, was like, this didn't work, this doesn't work for me, and it didn't even work for them. You see what I'm saying? But you got to
mhm.
unpack that. You got to pinpoint it. She was able to pinpoint it. This is why I look at this like this. This is why I'm like that. This, you know okay, now and so, and I hate, this is a shameless plug right here, but people, we need help. And I'm so glad that
So
we've
true.
entered a time in a generation that people aren't afraid to say, I need help with this.
Mm-hmm.
I need help with this.
Mm-hmm.
This thing called life is hard, and I need somebody to help me to make sure that I don't miss God. I don't miss opportunities. I don't miss because I haven't faced the things that are holding me back. And we need people like you and me, and people that will have the hard conversations and ask the difficult questions that will make us dig deep. You know, some people are stuck at the last place that tragedy happened.
It's true. Very, very true.
And God forbid if something happened the bad that occurred in the midst of their last intentional moment. So the last time I was intentional and planned it out, and everything went crazy, and this happened, and that happened, and this, and let me tell you something. That is why, and we need to talk about this.
Okay.
That is why sometimes I feel, and this is just me talking now, your intentionality cannot be tied into people.
Oh, Lord Jesus. Hey, you
Okay.
got to get beyond and over people quick,
Okay.
fast, and in a hurry.
Okay. Because that's one of the reasons why people struggle, because whatever their plan, their purpose, their goal, they're attaching it to something or somebody, and uh that usually becomes a sticking point right there for a lot of people.
That's a thin line. Because sometimes, like if you have small children, your intentionality has to take into consideration that you have small children.
Mm-hmm.
But even in that, all that does is help you with your structure so that you work around the duties and stuff that you have to have. What we have done as women, especially, we have put our life on a shelf.
Mm-hmm.
We have suppressed and buried our dreams.
Yes.
And we've intentionally done that and then blamed it on everybody around us.
Now let me ask you this. Did we Are we intentionally doing it, or is it more so out of almost like a muscle memory movement? Because
I think it's both, to be honest
okay,
with you. I think it's
okay,
both because there's no like just black or white, there are gray areas. However, if you have utilized that excuse for so long that you've allowed it
that's
to
true.
put you in a box, stifle you,
Yeah,
silence you, okay, and you've done it so long that now it has become your crutch.
yeah,
And the
yeah. I
kids,
see.
they're adolescents and then they're grown, and you're still using that excuse.
I got
Well,
you.
I couldn't do what my dream was because I had to raise my children. Well, they're grown and gone. So now what?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm.
see what I'm saying? It's like certain, like I had my children very, very young. And so certain choices were predicated on, you know, I'm a very young mother. Still, there were things that I would have liked to be able to do, but because of my circumstances and my situation, I left home at 17 with two babies. So
Okay.
I had to be intentional on a whole lot of things, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But that intentionality did not stop me from rising above it and shining in the midst of it.
So when we hear people say that wasn't my intention, what do you think of when you hear that statement?
Sometimes they're lying. That was the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah, they didn't intend for you to
That's
find
exactly
out.
what you intended to do. You said exactly what you intended to say, and it did exactly what you intended it to do, but you don't like the
The outcome.
consequence. You don't like the
Right.
consequence. So now it wasn't your intention. So sometimes they're lying. Other
Okay.
times we misconstrued the words or the actions, and it really wasn't that person's intention that you would be hurt or that you would receive what happened in the way that you did. That I didn't say it to hurt you. Like, and this is big for me because I'm so bold and so blunt. And I've had to learn how to kind of taper what I say, and take into the consideration that just because you may be able to get in my face and tell me something and I process it, you may not process it the same way. So there are times when people really did not mean to hurt you. They did not mean for you to take what they said or did as an offense, because that's not how they meant it. Okay. There are, like I said, now there's times they just straight out lying. Yeah, you did.
So
I'm gonna give you a prime example.
okay.
This is recent. I watched somebody systematically calculating getting somebody, their superior, out of the way so they could have the job.
Okay.
And then when it happened, all they kept saying was, "Oh, I feel so bad for so and so." I went to dinner with this person and I looked at him and I said, "Why do you keep saying that?" And he's like, "What do you mean? I do feel bad." I said, "No, you don't, because you did this."
That was your intention.
That was your intention. This is what you set out to do. And anybody that would give ear to you, you systematically made this happen. So why do you keep telling people you feel so bad? And he just looked at me and had another shot, another scotch. He was like,
right. Give me another drink on that one. So people, so we know how intentionality works as it relates to relationships and how we relate to each other. And so let's take that same intentionality, and if God was to, or not God, just life, we were able to sit down in front of a video of our life, like, and put and categorize things that, oh my God, that wasn't intentional. This was intentional. This was, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I think that, I know for me, mine would probably be split up into the early part of my life, into the second part, because I think that when you're younger, nothing is intentional. Everything is, life is, you're allowing, life is happening to you.
You're just flowing.
It's kind of like what my grandmother said, we
told you not to do. You just
hang out, right? And then when you get, just say over 30, and you start becoming more intentional because, rather your children are getting old or you're getting older and things. So it's usually a shifting that happens in a person that decides, you know what, I can't just be out, Lally. I can't just be out and with no aimlessly anymore. I have everything I do have to be intentional. I have to put my energy towards intentional things. And I think that's what we're saying here, is that we have had seasons in our lives that we were just more responding to life, trying to just figure out our way. But the Bible says when you're a child, you think as a child.
Right. When you grow up, you put away childish things.
And so now we're talking to the non-child anymore. We're talking to the person that everything that you do in this season of your life should be intentional. It should be thought out. It should be planned. It should not be emotionally motivated. Now, your emotions can move your intentions, but your intentions should not have anything to do with your emotions. And we have to become accountable to what we intentionally allow to come out of us.
Yes.
And I'm not just talking about words, I'm talking about our works. We have to, because we have to be accountable to them. It's kind of like the gentleman you were just talking about. He was intentional about setting up those occurrences, right? But what he didn't want to do is take responsibility for it.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. A lot of people are doing intentional things, but they're not taking the responsibility of the outcome or the result of something that they set forth. And they were very on purpose, did it very purposely.
I think back to, like you say, that younger time and where I am today. And I went through a very embittered stage of life because I had been hurt. And just even, allowing the words of people to harden me, number one, because I got to, and it happened very early in life. I tell people I got over people when I was 14 because you're saying things about me and you don't know my circumstance, you don't know my situation, you don't know anything, but you're just surfacely talking about me in a very, very derogatory manner, and you have no idea. So I developed a thick skin of, if that's what you think about me, I don't care what you think. And then that led to getting into a relationship where I gave all of me, my whole heart. And in that relationship, I got hurt. So now it's like, not only I'm not going to deal with your words or what you think about me, I'm not letting you in my heart. I'm not letting nobody nowhere close to it. So I became embittered. I had this wall and I was intentional about it. I was intentional about what came up, came out. I didn't care about your feelings. I intentionally did not care about your feelings. I did not care about the consequences of what I said and did to people. I didn't, because I felt that they didn't care what they said or did to me. And so in that, it was like that bitterness. And that was, I think, the biggest obstacle that God and I had when I came to him, was him chipping away at that cold, stony heart where I didn't care. Okay. And I had to get to a place of caring again and still wanting to guard my heart. So now it's like, okay, you mean I got to love people? I got to care about them. I've got to be intentional not to say things to hurt them. Okay. But how do I protect me if I do that? And then I had to get into that place with him of saying, okay, Lord, I have to trust you because I don't trust people. And I'm still like that.
Right.
I'm 70 next year. I still don't trust people. I will never get past that. I can love you. I can help you. I can care for you. But there's always that little bit of reserve in me.
Well, God tells us to love. He don't tell we got to trust nobody. He tells us to love.
Because I can love you from a distance, babe.
We got to love. But you know what? Our intentions, part of intentionality is, if you are a person that really wants to operate in authentic intentionality, then it requires a lot of self-examination.
It does. Absolutely. That's why I said you have to do reflection. There's got to be that reflective time, because I had to go back and get to the root of why I was the way I was. Why was I so harsh? Why was I so cold? I didn't want commitment from anybody because I'm not going to commit to you. And so, yeah, and like you are the type of coach. It's funny. It's like, I'm not going to baby you, but I'm going to help you get to the root of where you need to go.
Exactly.
And that's just the reality. But the fact that, everybody needs somebody in their inner circle that really loves them, that literally, be cautious of who's in your inner circle, okay? But everybody needs somebody in their inner circle that will be honest with them, not hurtful, but honest,
Yeah, and sometimes honesty is hurtful.
But I mean, not with intentionality.
With not the intention to hurt you, but sometimes it needs to hurt you. Sometimes it needs to hurt because that's the only way it's going to change. And see, sometimes and that's another thing. We we're so we live in a culture where we have to be so careful and not to judge and not to say, and y'all don't want to hurt nobody. But I'm like, are we really helping each other being that way? I mean, if I don't know how to just really tell it to you straight up, like if I really love you, and see, that's the thing, I say this to people all the time. I said, if you really get to know a person's heart, you seldom question their intentions.
That's true.
If you really know their heart, like
True.
I know your heart, right? And so even if you say something to me that cuts me, because I know your heart, I won't have to question your intentions, right? And that's the thing. If we take the time to understand the heart of people, and it's like your children, right? It's like I tell my daughter all the time, there is absolutely no person on this earth, past, present, or future, except for God, that loves you more, that will wants better. This person don't exist, right? So if you know that about me, you don't have, whenever I say something or do something that may not sit right with you, you don't have to question it. You may not like it, but you don't have to question it because you know my heart. You know that I didn't do that to bring you down or hurt your feelings. Everything was about making you, equipping you to be better and greater. And so we have to, that's why I'm so glad you said we have to self-examine, because some of us are walking around, and I know this may be deviating from where we are, but kind of
It
not.
needs to be said. Say
We're
it.
walking around with all of these wounds, and we're hurt, and we have issues because we misinterpret or we didn't like the intentions, the plans, because that's what they say back in the day. Remember back in the day, like if a man liked a woman, it was like, well, what are your intentions?
That was exactly what they said.
So your intentions is what is your plan? What's the end game here?
Where's this
What's the
going?
goal?
Where is this going?
What's the goal? What is happening? And we have to be, if somebody came up to us in our lives and say, what are your intentions? In your business, what are your intentions? What are you trying to do? You got to have it. You got to be able to run that off. You never know. You're trying to get funding for your business, and here comes the person that can write a check and change your life. And you got 3 minutes to answer questions. What are your intentions?
Right.
What is your answer?
You better have that answer. And don't you better rattle it off. Know what it is.
And sometimes that could just saying that, it could sound kind of harsh. Like, what's your intentions? Like, what's my intentions? What they're really saying is, what's your plan? What are you really trying to do here? Because when you have intentions, that means you have thought about it. You have the answers to the questions. And that's what, and for women, we have to do everything intentionally. We don't have the luxury. We don't have the luxury. Okay, so have you been looking at social media, the news and everything, and like they were like over, I don't know what the percentage of Black women that have lost their jobs.
I know it's very, very high. I try to stay off the news because, but I do know it's very, very high.
So guess what we're going to have to do, sisters? We got to become very intentional.
And band together.
We got to become
a new economic stream between these sisters.
Yes, because guess what? Sisters have done what we've always done from the beginning of time. We have operated and built their systems and taught them how to operate in their system, from slavery to raising their kids and having their kids and building their and creating a home system for them and everything. That is what we've done. And then when we got educated, we went back into their system and created their system, and we've done it. And it's time that we become intentional about where we put our talent, where we put our gifts,
money.
Where are we put our money? Everything. Everything. We have to be intentional about it.
Absolutely. Without doubt. Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. And stop believing the lie that we can't band together and do it. That's my whole premise behind Lioness Warrior Kingdom, is that women have been fed this lie that you cannot work together, you cannot band together. And the whole thing about a lioness, she is the only big cat that they protect one another. They protect each other's cubs. They protect each other. They protect the pride. They go out, they do the hunting, and even like the king of the jungle, the lion, even like he don't want to mess with the lioness,
She
okay?
don't.
He don't want to mess with her because she's not playing. She's intentional.
She's intentional. And guess what? Not only is she intentional, everybody around her knows she's intentional. Like,
Absolutely.
like if she did that on purpose.
Yeah.
She didn't just do
Yeah.
that. She didn't just then wake up and decide to just do something. That wasn't an emotional knee jerk. That was
Mm-hmm.
she planned that. She probably had been
Mm-hmm.
playing that for a long
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
I had somebody cracking up. They were talking about how um, and women be in relationships and they go from one relationship to another. They find a new relationship and then they find a new one before they leave the
Exit
old
the
one.
old one.
Well, I say, well, hell, even birds build a new nest before they tear down the old one. I'm saying birds are intentional, and so I said that, and I just used that example. It was funny, but I was just saying this because women, when we take our emotion out, we're, I want to say, like, I can't find the word. We are automatically, that's not the word I'm looking for, but intentional beings.
Oh, we are.
You know what I'm saying? Emotion. What we do is allow emotion to override it. But when now here's a bird. I'm like the birds of the field now, like how God take it. I'm saying here's a bird, a mother bird, who builds a nest,
Mm-hmm.
and every day she's gone and she's built another nest somewhere else,
Right.
and she does not tear down the one that she's living in
Mm-hmm.
until the new one is completely
Is
built.
ready until
That's
it's ready.
that's a bird. This is a bird, with a bird brain.
Okay, little bitty, little bitty bird
Okay.
brain.
And I'm saying, I'm using this, and I'm not saying women. I'm not talking about what I'm talking about. I'm not saying y'all before y'all leave, go get y'all another man, build you another house. I'm not saying that.
It's just an example, ladies.
I'm
It's just an
using this
example.
as an.
Don't tear
I'm
down your home. Don't go. Don't go
no,
out there
right.
cheating and stuff.
Right. I'm not telling you, that's a whole different conversation. What I am saying is that the concept of what is that, so let's, okay, to make people feel better so they don't, I'm gonna leave that and I'm gonna say a job, right? You're at a job. Most people will invest, uh, get educated, redo their resume, do everything while they're still where they are. They're not going to quit their job. They're intentional about the next move. They're
Mhm,
intentional what city I want to be in. What you're
mhm,
intentional. You see,
mhm.
emotions is like, I can't take it anymore. No,
And just
you're gonna
jump up
take
and
it.
do something, and they
You,
did not count up the cost because that's the word. Count up the
you're
cost.
where you're gonna take it until you have a plan. You're going to take it until you're intentional about what's next. And until then, you need to just saddle up, stay where you are, do what you need to do.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, Dr. Stephanie. The more you talk about how disgruntled you are and how upset you are, the
Mhm.
heavier the weight of where you are will rest on you. When you start being intentional in your plan, in your purpose, in your strategies
Come
for
on
your
now.
exits, okay?
Come
Where
on.
you're at is not as bad as it was with all that weight because it's a means to an end. I can tell you from experience, and I shared this with everybody. Like, 2023, I had told everybody I'm off that job December 31st. I'm done because I'm sick of it. I'm over it. September of that year, I'm laying in the bed at a retreat, and the Lord started dealing with me, and He said, "You didn't tell everybody you were quitting that job. How come you haven't asked me?" And all I could do was be honest and say, "Because I didn't want you to tell me to stay." That was the honest to God truth. And all He said was, "Trust me." And when I took the weight off of the negativity, changed it to, okay, Lord, I will trust you. I'm not going to let the circumstances, the people drive me somewhere you have not planned for me to
Come
be.
on
I'm
now.
going to trust you. And now I'm out, and God blessed as I exit. You know what I'm saying?
Let me let
So
I love what you're saying. No, go ahead. I love it because I think if I hear you correctly, I think you're saying if you don't be intentional about nothing else, if you don't know how to be intentional about nothing, might not have the plan, you may not have the ideal, you may not know what. At least be intentional about trusting God, about putting Him first, about everything that's be intentional about His place in your life. And
right.
if you put Him in His place, that He'll work out everything else.
Everything. Because he knows the plan He has for you, a plan of good and not of evil, to get you to the expected end. He's intentional. He's
That's right.
strategic.
Get under His covering, and you can ride off His intentionality that He's already preparing for your life.
Exactly. And then I took that weight off of me, and it was like, dang, this is cool. I can do this, because I knew there was a plan in the works. And in that, in my intentionality, I stepped up the stuff for my stuff. I stepped up the stuff for Lioness Warrior Kingdom. I stepped up the stuff for Kingdom Influencer. All of those things began to even take a greater shape because I wasn't bogged down in the negativity of, I got to get out of this job. I got to get out of this job. No, you're a means to an end. You're going to supply what I need so I can go and do and be great. Okay.
And you know what? It's I say this all the time. I tell people that sometimes we're in situations that we can't change the situation. Maybe it's God's timing, for whatever reason, we can't change the situation, right? So what do? I have people, well, what do you do when you can't change a situation? You change how you look at it.
Perception.
You just
Perception.
change it. That's
Perception.
what you have control over. You
Yep.
have control how you look at it. And
Yep.
so if we get to a thing, we get to look at a thing, and it could be whatever we want it to be, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then and I don't want to look at it in the way that is going to make me have doubt, fear, or worry. I don't want to look at anything that's going to put me in a paralyze me. So are you telling me I have the power now to look at this thing in an empowering way? I can look at the same situation and see how it can benefit me, how it can grow me, how I could really, really be okay in this. And all I have to do is shift my mind to
Yep.
do it. That's it.
It.
Come on now.
Be intentional.
That's
You
some
got
intentionality.
1 minute and 15 seconds to close us out.
Oh, wow. Well, let me be real intentional right here. That listen, we are in a time that, ladies, we have to be so intentional about everything we do, everything we say, everything we put out into the atmosphere, the words that we're saying, the prayers that we're praying, the plans that we make. We have to be so intentional. We have a whole God, we have heaven, we have the universe backing us up.
Yes.
So we have no reason not to be saying and doing the things that we've thought about, that we've planned. This is the season to do it. This is not the time to be fearful, to shrink back, to go back, to and anything that is causing you that, it is time to deal with those things. Get on the front. If you need therapy, if you need a coach, whatever you need to do it, because we're going into a season. And I think, Dr. James, we're getting ready to go like we're walking into the next season, that 2026. I think the word is going to be intentionality. I just think it is. I don't know. I think it is. I think it's going to be, we're going to have to be intentionally on purpose. And we're going to have to make sure that aligning with our gifting and our calling. And so I just want to encourage the women that this is an exciting time in spite of what things look like, what you're hearing, what you're seeing. I am telling you that this is an exciting time, and make sure that whatever you're putting out, make sure you're intentional about it.
Amen. How do they find you?
They can find me at I am Dr. Shine, and on Instagram I am on Facebook. It's Stephania Shine, Stephania, with my middle initial R, Shine. And again, Instagram is I am Dr. Shine. And you know what? I'll tell y'all my phone number. If you need to call me, is 770-363-0608. And I gave out my phone number right there because I am intentional about what I do and wanting to help empower women.
Amen. We are a minute and a half over. So, ladies, we love you. Lionesses, rise up. Be intentional about your life, and you will not regret it. I promise you. All right.